The way they set her up, she's like this perfect I can do anything girl. But at the end, she apologizes for not saying anything because she was going to get her tuition paid. And I was like, for the whole movie, I've been thinking this is a plot hole type thing. Like, she knows that her stepfamily is evil
Mm-hmm.
and she's not saying anything. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this makes it seem like she's just doing this for the tuition money.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's
Yeah.
revealed she was. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I kind of like this better now.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I really do need the money. Sorry.
We're having a destination wedding, the Caribbean. Bruce is renting a beautiful villa so our families can spend time together.
Don't get all starry-eyed. Mom doesn't want you to embarrass her. She's the one that asked me to come.
You're here to be smiling and silent. All I ask is that you don't make this family look bad.
Hey everyone, it's Jonathan and welcome back to Every Version Ever. Today I'm joined once more by Lisa Faye and we're talking about another modern princess rom-com. So far, most of the movies we've talked about together have been some form of so bad it's good, or in the case of our most recent episode on Cinderella, just terrible and not fun to watch at all. Despite what the title may lead you to believe, Cinderella in the Caribbean doesn't really fit into either of those categories. But it's not really amazing either. I assumed with a title like this we were in for another cheesy Cinderella's Christmas or something. Something really cheesy and over the top, just dumb enough to make it a fun watch. But unfortunately I kind of liked it. And I say unfortunately because I didn't like it enough that this is a great movie and I can't wait to talk about it. But on the whole, this was mostly just a fine movie. That being said, Lisa and I still had a lot of fun picking apart its eccentricities, and the further we got into it, the more ridiculous it became to us. So while the movie is mostly just fine, it does fit into our other episodes in that our conversation is by far my favorite thing to come from watching it. Okay, so what are your initial reactions to this movie?
I'm trying to be as nice as I can when I say that I literally watched this yesterday, so it would be fresh in my mind, and I could not. If you told me right now, like I'm even having to look at the title, what I thought of, like right now you're asking me, and I'm like, wait, what was the movie you watched? I don't remember it all. Why? Because it was boring.
uh, kind of, yeah.
It wasn't bad. That's the thing, is it wasn't bad. I thought the people were
Exactly.
delightful. It was fine, but I was just bored.
I think this is the first one we've talked about where I'm not sure what my reaction is. Like, normally I have a stronger reaction. Like,
Right?
with the last one, it's like, I hated this and I can't wait to pick it apart.
Yes.
And with this one, I guess I liked it, but I don't feel like I'll ever watch it again.
No, this, and I feel bad because everybody, like I said, I actually enjoyed everybody in it for what they were supposed to bring to the table and what they were supposed to bring to it. It was fine. But this to me was like, all right, Hallmark Channel does like 40 holiday movies a
Hmm.
year, and about movie like 17, 18, you're like, okay, this one just got greenlit because they needed to fill some numbers. That's what this is feeling like. Like this got greenlit because they were like, fine, go with it. Sure.
And
Yeah.
I don't think this is a Hallmark movie. It kind of felt like one.
Yeah.
The company that made it is Candlelight Media Group,
Okay.
and I tried to look into them a little bit because right off the bat when this movie started, I was like, is this a church movie?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I did it did feel, and I don't want to say anything because I'm not trying to insult anybody or their beliefs or anything, but it felt very regional to a certain part of this country. I'll just say that.
Like
That's all I'll say.
I grew up watching not a lot of like Christian media, but enough that this was giving me that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Just the acting specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the further we got into it, I was like, this is so I don't want to say bland, but like
You
I
can, because it was.
I'm trying to find a better description than just bland, but I guess it's just bland.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, like it was fine. Like it was actually fine. If I was watching this during like the holiday season, like during one of the Hallmark's whole thing, like if it was part of that lineup,
Hmm.
it would be one of those ones that I would just like, yeah, it was fine. And it was fun. Like if they had a bunch of like Christmas decorations, I'd be like, it was fine. But yeah, you're right. It's not one that I'm like, ooh, I want to watch this every year. Or, there was some big moment. There was actually only one big moment where I was like, girl, what are you doing? But we'll get there. Other than that, I don't like, I had to write everything down that I was like, and I literally wrote in all caps, this isn't bad. It's just boring.
I
Yeah.
will say, I think I prefer this to, at the very least, the last movie we talked about, Cinderella.
Yes.
Like, I would choose to watch this over Cinderella any day.
Yeah. Yes.
But it was, like, again, it wasn't bad. I think, and I wasn't expecting it to be good. I will say it was better than I expected because with a
Hmm.
title like Cinderella in the Caribbean, I was expecting over the top insipidness.
I was nervous. I was like, this cast is pretty much all white. And what are we doing with this title? I was very nervous about some appropriation going to happen. I was very nervous about where it was all going to head. And it was just boring.
Well, the I think the all white cast could be explained by this is like a rich family going on vacation for a wedding.
Yeah, it was just like it was literally like, what is it, six people? Like I know there were background characters and stuff
The
like
the
that. And
background characters were like native to the
occasionally.
Caribbean, I think.
Yes, but
Like I
it
don't know
was
if they
just
shot it
like,
on location, but they seemed like they were there. I think there was only one background character that was white. So,
well, that's the thing is I want to say about the location. I did make note of the fact that they were actually in different places.
hmm
They had her little, it wasn't really a montage, but at the beginning of the movie, they highlight all of the jobs that she has. They make sure you know she's very busy.
She's a
And
teacher, she's an accountant, she's a
yeah,
college student.
she's college student, like, and they all had distinctive looking rooms, even though it might have been one big like building that they just did it in different. It's fine, but at least it looked slightly different. And at least when they went to the, Caribbean, it was like it was obviously a beach house, as opposed to the Snow White movie, where basically they had one house and they made it
Yes.
look like
Yes.
different buildings in the same house.
Yes. I think as a whole, this is a better movie than the Snow White movie, but I would still choose to watch it over this one because it was more entertaining and over the top.
Oh, the Snow White movie?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
I would watch that 1,000 times. Yes. This one was the production value. Yes, it felt more. And it was just, it was boring, but it was like, to me, there was zero chemistry between anyone. Everyone was just saying their lines. And the dialogue was so bad.
Like when the stepmother comes to Ashley, I keep wanting to call her Cinderella.
Yeah.
She comes to visit and she offers her a drink and she's like, something bubbly. She's like, I have tap water. Ew. Then why did you offer?
I know. Okay, if we're gonna start, that literally happens right at the beginning. Okay, because if we're gonna start talking about, I'm gonna say that the beginning, yes, we highlight all of the ways that she's like this amazing person. She works interns at a school with like elementary school kids, and then she works at an accountant office where apparently there's a CPA, but she's the one that actually doing the tax returns, which
That's what it sounded like, but then there was this whole thing later on about how she hates math and like what
yeah,
I don't understand what your
it
job at
was
the accountant's place is then.
bizarre. But then they intercut her being in college classes, so I could never really pinpoint exactly how old she was and what her situation was. But then they end up at home. She ends up at her house, and she's literally about to sit down and eat, and then somebody knocks at the door, and she just gets up and opens it. And I'm like, what in what world? Like for me, if somebody knocks on my door, I would absolutely panic and I would be on the floor, army style crawling, like no one's home, like not even trying to breathe loud. Like, are you kidding? And she just gets up and she's like, who's here? Da, 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 opens the door. And I'm like, ma'am, that's your first mistake. She didn't even ask, who is it? She just opens the door. Hello. Okay. It could have been a land shark. You never know.
That didn't even cross my mind, but I think the world we're living in is sort of idyllic. So,
Oh, in the movie, yes.
yes.
Because for me, with anxiety and introvertness, I'm like, Open the door.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, I hate
No.
answering the door. I'll let somebody else do it.
Yes. No. And I wrote it down. I was like, girl, why are you just opening that door? Like I literally wrote that down because it freaked me out.
Yeah, if somebody's coming over, we know about it in advance. If you're just knocking on the door, I have no idea why you're here. I live out in the country too, so it's even
Yeah.
weirder if somebody's just
Right.
knocking on the door, like out in the middle of nowhere.
That would absolutely put me in a panic. Yeah. No. Well, so that's the way to me it started. I was like, already this is going downhill because I didn't and they she the person enters the room and like you said is give me a drink and all this and it takes literally like 3 minutes for them to even tell us who she is. I'm like, who is this woman? How do they know each other?
There were a bunch of scenes where it just seemed like they were doing stuff.
Yes.
I was like, what purpose does this serve the plot?
Exactly. I was like, is this a sister? Is this? I knew it was Cinderella, so I figured it's got to be some sort of relation. But I'm like, who is this? And then they finally say something about the stepkids, and I'm like, oh, this is the stepmother.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, well, this took entirely too long to let us know as the audience of who any of these people are. Yeah.
Yeah, the stepmother is getting remarried, and I don't know, it struck me as odd because they have this whole conversation where there's a lot of exposition, like, you've never treated me like family. And she's like, how could you say that? After your father died, I did the best I could with 2 children. And you.
I know that pause where she's like, and you, and I'm like, oh,
They do that whole thing, and she's talking about how her soon to be husband is a widower, and like they bonded over losing their spouse. And the way she's talking, I'm like, I mean, this is obviously her third marriage because
right.
she has 2 kids from a previous marriage, but she never talks about that. They only talk about Ashlyn's father. And it just seemed weird that they kind of glossed over that to me. They just never mention the fact that this is her third marriage. They act like
Yeah.
it's her second.
I was kind of hoping it was going to take like a horror movie turn and you find out that she's secretly like killed all of her husbands.
I thought the same thing.
And I was
I
like,
was like, is
if
she
that's where
offing
this
her
is going,
husbands?
I'm very excited.
That almost feels like it would be a better movie.
Right? God,
And
maybe
I don't
that's
even
an
like horror
idea.
movies, but I kind of want that.
Now I'm gonna have to percolate on that because I'm like, maybe I have a good idea here for a Cinderella horror like version. Oh, anyways, yeah. So the whole thing was, I get it's the script. I get that it's the script and that we're supposed to get these people to the Caribbean and have this. I get it, but in no part of the real world would you go to a stepmother who's not even in your life anymore to her wedding to appease a man you've never met for a wedding. Like it doesn't. None of it
Well,
made
she
sense.
promises to pay her tuition,
Right.
which by the end that makes more sense with the character because the way they set her up and the way I just assumed she was, she's like this perfect I can do anything girl. And like that's already boring.
Yes.
I did like I don't know if it's supposed to be a twist or not. Like at the end, she apologizes for not saying anything because she was going to get her tuition paid, and I was like, okay, so she has been thinking about it because I've for the whole movie I've been thinking this is like a plot hole type thing. Like she knows that her stepfamily is evil,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not saying anything. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this makes it seem like she's just doing this for the tuition money.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's
Yeah.
revealed she was. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I kind of like this better now.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I really do need the money. Sorry.
But yeah, it's still, I don't really understand why the stepmother was so insistent that she come. I guess it was for Bruce because Bruce wants to meet her. And yes, she's getting married, so it would seem weird. But like, she seems so insistent that she come. And it
Yeah.
just seemed, it could have been written better. It just didn't make sense to me for the longest time.
No. And poor Bruce. Bruce was a delight. Like, I just, I
I
want
don't know
nothing
what
but
he
the best
saw
for
in her.
Bruce. No, I'm like, I want nothing but the best for him because the moment he steps on screen and he is just so lovely and so welcoming and so excited to finally meet the entire family that he's, about to marry into. And I literally wrote down poor Bruce because it's not going to last. So I'm just like, oh, this
Yeah.
is sad.
I also have to say, it really cracked me up, and I don't even know if it was supposed to be funny, but you find out that her step siblings' names are Fiona and Jerry.
Yes,
And for whatever reason, that combination of names just cracked me up. Fiona and Jerry.
it's so bizarre. It doesn't make, and I'm like, he must have been a junior. And then that she was like, well, I get to name the daughter something like, fantastical sounding, Fiona. Yeah. And Jerry.
I know, it's just such a weird mismatch of names.
Which I was trying to think of how do any of these names tie into the original story? And I couldn't think of anything. And I was like, I'm reading too much into this. I was like, Lisa, just watch this
I,
movie.
yeah, I don't know if they took inspiration from anything for the names. It's like they took the outline of Cinderella and then just did their own thing with the basic plot beats that they needed to hit.
Right. I mean, again, it was fine. It
Yeah,
was fine.
it was fine. It wasn't terrible. It's just for, I don't know, certain things just stood out to me as odd.
Well, we're kind of glossing over the biggest elephant in the room here is that the romantic interest is literally about to marry into the family. Like, and I'm not talking about just Ashlyn, the Cinderella character, because she has no blood relation to anybody. So for her to be interested in Bruce's son is a little weird if they're all going to be connected, like family wise, but it's not
Uh-huh.
terrible because they're really nobody's really. But they set up a whole romantic rival with Fiona, her stepsister, who's literally about to be legitimate stepbrother and stepsister with this guy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just like, what is happening? This had to be his son? Like I get it was so messy for no reason at all because it could have just been like, I don't know, like another guy that he works with. I don't know, some guy that works in the house. I don't anybody. But they were
Mm-hmm.
like, no, we have to make it his Bruce's son, and there has to be a romantic rivalry between the stepsisters for him. I get it; it's the prince and the stepsisters. I get all of that, but it was ugh, yuck. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it was odd. I
Yeah.
It didn't seem odd at the beginning when it's like just Ashlyn and
Mhm.
Noah,
Yeah.
but it just kept getting more and more weird the more and more Fiona started getting interested in him.
Yes.
Like she made it weird.
She did. And I'm glad you said that because I really wrote this is weird. And I'm glad you said weird because I was like, this is weird. I can't imagine like my parents are still together. They've been together 50 years. Nuts, they're in it for the long haul. But I can't imagine like my parents like getting remarried and I'm like, oh, let me check out all of my soon to be step siblings. See if there's any romantic possibilities there. Like what?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that is extra weird.
I mean, like I said, I get it's the nod to the original story because the stepsisters are all vying for Prince Charming, and I do understand that. But Prince Charming also wasn't marrying into their family like
Yeah.
that way. Like
Yeah.
the evil stepmother wasn't marrying the king. And yeah,
That would
anyways.
be an interesting twist on I mean it is with this movie, but like if it was set during the time period that Cinderella is usually set, it would be more
Right.
interesting to have the queen or the stepmother trying to be the queen. That
Oh,
would be an interesting twist.
that would be. See, here we are coming up with all kinds of alternative Cinderellas as opposed to this one because it was boring.
They also have a weird thing in here with I liked that they had one of the siblings be a brother, a stepbrother,
Mm-hmm.
but he was also an odd character. He's like a lazy gambler who like gambles on his phone and
Say
like
it that way.
he pretends it's a job. Like it was a weird character.
Yes. his
it
yeah.
the whole scene where you meet him did kind of crack me up though, because the stepmother tells him to help Ashlyn to her room, and like he picks up her bag, moves it 2 feet, and then sets it down for her to carry again. But this bag is literally a wheeled suitcase with a handle to pull it, and they carry
Yes.
it like it's a suitcase without wheels.
Yes. And we see later when she's like packing later that she has like 5 items in there. This thing probably weighed like 2 pounds, and he's like, ugh. So funny.
And then the whole thing with the room, like they take her to this room and act like it's this really small cupboard or something, and I'm like, this is a perfectly normal. This is the size of my bedroom. What's wrong with you
Yeah.
people?
Well, I was kind of irritated that they didn't show us any of the other bedrooms, and I know budget wise they probably didn't have any other bedrooms, but it was like if everything else is so like grand and like like this big palace style type thing, why don't we see? But we didn't. We just saw her dusty little brown bedroom, which was again fine. It was fine.
It
There
seemed
was
like a
nothing
normal
wrong with
sized
it.
bedroom to me.
But they kept saying, "Was this for staff? Is this staff quarters?" And I'm like, "How big is this house that there's staff quarters? What?"
Yeah,
It
because
was
like there's a later scene with Bruce talking about how, well, there's a whole other bedroom. It's like his reaction to looking at the room is, this is so cozy. Like
I know.
cozy is a derogatory term.
I'm like, it looked fine to me.
It's like I didn't until that point I hadn't even fully clocked that they were trying to make this room out to be terrible.
Right. Right.
It's like it does not seem like a terrible room.
No. But again, I was appreciative of the fact that they actually had different looking sets
Yes.
instead of just throwing a blanket over a couch and be like, "Oh, now we're at the lounge."
Yes. In that regard, this they did so much better than that Snow White movie.
Yes.
The thing also with Jerry is that he apparently has been losing all his mom's money gambling. And like they have this whole scene midway through the movie where it's like this big reveal, like he spent all her money. But then in the very next scene, Fiona's talking about it like this has always been the plan, that they're gonna pay off Jerry's debts by marrying Bruce. And I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
has he done this before? Like I wasn't sure what the timeline of Jerry's gambling problem was.
No, because I feel like they made a throwaway comment about how he's just kind of like, I mean, it's not like a loser, but I mean, he kind of is, but like that he doesn't really do much because Ashlyn says something like, "Oh, you bet on sports." And so we're led to believe that, yes, that's what he does. That's why he's always on his phone. And, he does have these little quippy one-liners that actually land in some places where I was like, I did laugh, but for the most part, we know nothing about him except for that. And then the one scene where it reveals that, yes, he's lost a bunch of money. The mom is surprised. And then all of a sudden, you're right. It just turns and it's like, no, this was the plan the whole time. And it didn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
Like narratively, it didn't make sense.
No, because for as much as the stepmother is the stepmother that she needs to be, she did seem to like Bruce.
Yes.
So it just seemed odd that suddenly there's this big reveal, like, oh, they're just using him for his money.
Yeah. Which did we ever find out what he actually did? Like, I didn't know what anybody actually did.
They said that they met through work because he was an architect and she decorated the small homes for display or
That's
something.
right. That's right.
Like I don't know much about that type of a job, so it seemed kind of an odd thing. Like, oh, she decorates the display, the mini display homes. Is like, do they show doll houses? I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I'm like, what? It all just kind of blew past me because, again, boring. But yeah, that doesn't like little miniature houses. What?
I'm pretty sure that that's what they said. Because, like, if they had just said she decorates the houses, or like, oh, so they buy houses and she goes in and fixes them up, that would make more sense to me than the way they phrased it.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were talking about, like, models of houses.
And why would they need to get married there? Like, why fly down there when
I just assume because they're rich and that's what rich people do. I don't know. I've never been rich. I just assume that I
Yeah,
know what rich people are like from these types of movies.
I don't know because I'm like, why would you want a destination wedding when, I mean, I know obviously it's a small cast, you can't have everybody, but it's like no family ever contacts them to be like, we're coming in, and no family ever says, like they do a throwaway line, my best friend can't come, whatever. But
Hmm.
it's like the groom, like Bruce's side of the family, there's no like, hey, they're coming next week for the wedding. No discussion. They show this church, which
When the
sorry,
church happened, I was like, okay, so this is a church movie. Because, like, normally in movies, when you go to a church for a wedding, they always, like, choose the most grand,
I know.
ostentatious, awesome looking church. And this is like, this is a real church.
Yes.
This is like where you have
It
potlucks in the basement.
made me laugh so hard because Fiona, from the moment we meet her, she tells us she's the wedding planner and that she's coordinating all this, and she's like so like braggy about it. And they're like, wait to see this place. It's amazing. I found the cutest little chapel. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever. They're gonna find this cute, like little stone chapel. I don't know, something. And then they show it's like 1970s,
Yeah,
like
there's brown wood paneling.
neighborhood church. I was like, this is what they were talking about. It was so funny. And they were like, and we're only gonna have 50 people here. And I'm like, this church is massive. Like it could probably seat like 200 or 300 people, and you're gonna have 50 people. Like none of, none of it made sense. They probably got it for free.
That's why I'm thinking this is like maybe made in conjunction with a church. I don't know. I did look up Candlelight Media Group, and they're based in Orem, Utah. So I'm like, is this like a Mormon movie
That's
then?
what I was referring to earlier when I was like, I don't want to offend anybody, but this seemed very regional to that coast. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, because like the movie didn't like the movies that I grew up with that are like church movies, they're like very overt and in your face with the
Yeah.
message. And this wasn't. This felt like
No.
a normal movie. It just had the flavor of a church movie.
Yes. You're right. The seasoning of it. But as soon as they walked in that church, and I was like, wait, what? It literally,
Yeah,
you're right. It looked like a basement,
yeah.
like a 1970s basement. And I'm like, okay. So funny.
By the time they got to that point, I had forgotten my initial assessment of this at the beginning, where I was like, so is this like a Christian movie? And then
Yeah.
once we got past that, I was like, it's just mid-tier acting. Like it's fine. It's not. It's just a rom-com, like a Hallmark-ish type thing.
Yeah.
And then they walk into that church, and I was like, wait a minute, was I right at the beginning?
It was too real.
It
It was
was.
too real.
It was
Yes.
like it's a real church. Like there's no way somebody built that as a set. That was a
No.
church.
That was somebody called in a favor and was like, "Hey, I know a guy who says that we can film," and he's cleared it with the deacon, and which I thought was strange because it was a Catholic church, and they talked about mass, and they talked about the priest, and I'm like, are they Catholic? Because now we're talking about a whole different
I
wedding
thought the
planning
same
here.
thing too because like like I'm not Catholic. It looked like a church that it didn't look like one that I grew up Baptist. It didn't look
Yeah,
quite like a Baptist church.
no, because I'm Catholic, and that was a Catholic church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was
Well,
like,
I've been in Catholic churches, but they
yeah,
looked more ostentatious than this one. So
yes,
it didn't read immediately as Catholic to me. But then they said priest, and then later somebody said pastor. I was like, I'm confused.
yes. And because I thought I remember an altar, which, Catholics, but it was very like 70s Catholic, because you're right. Most churches, and listen, as a Catholic, I can say this. So anybody listening to this, don't come for me. But Catholics can build a church on you. They will take all that money and build a church on you. But that one was like from the like late 60s, early 70s, like when they were still a little bit more modest. I don't know, because the churches I grew up in, they were grand,
Yeah,
to put it.
it looked closer to a church that I grew up in that was from probably built around the 60s or 70s and then
Yeah.
never updated.
It kills me that she was bragging about, she's like, wait till you find this place. Wait till you see this place. It's just the cutest little chapel. And then they show up and no.
They seem to kind of have dropped the plot point about halfway through about her being a wedding planner because they just
Yeah,
never bring it up again and they're just doing random stuff. It's
right.
like, okay. Like, I wonder if they only did that so that they wouldn't have to hire another actor to be a wedding planner that they'd be meeting with because this
Mm,
was such a small cast.
right. That would make sense. Like after that, don't they go taste cakes?
They go to feed birds
That's
first.
right. I forgot about the birds. Oh gosh.
That was another scene where I was like, okay, they're just doing stuff.
What is the point of the birds?
I don't, it was just to give a moment for Fiona to be all weird with Noah again because she like grabs the cup and is like, we can share. And then she's freaking out about the birds.
Eh, and because they mention in the church about did we secure permission to release doves in the
Oh,
church?
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, in the church?
Yeah, she's like insistent that they be inside the church. And I'm
And
like, what?
and in my mind, I'm like, what is that? But then Bruce actually comes through and it's like, have we really considered the fact that it will be birds in a church, like
Uh-huh.
inside? And I'm like, thank God somebody said it. Like at least it wasn't just glossed over. He's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And then they cut to them looking at birds. Like it was,
I
it
don't
was
know if those were like I assumed doves. I don't know that they were
yeah,
scoping out these parrots to be released. Maybe they were. I don't
maybe.
know.
I don't, who knows? At this point, who knows? Well, it was supposed to, I know it was supposed to give a moment between Noah, Bruce's son, and Ashlyn, but this is where I wrote down there's zero chemistry between these two people. They could literally be brother and sister. I was like, I don't care if they get together or not. Okay.
I think the only care that I had as to whether or not they ended up together was just so that he didn't end up with Fiona.
True.
'Cause she was terrible. And
True.
by comparison, Ashlyn is so much better with him.
Yes. Yes. That's very true.
They also do a weird thing where they like play a game to get to know each other. Like they draw slips of paper out of a jar to like tell something about yourself. I was like, is this a real game? I've never heard of doing this before.
Can I just say that during the game, Fiona is like all proud. She's like, I came up with this game. Bruce wanted me to come up with a game, a welcoming game, and I made this up. And basically, I put all these ideas on a piece of paper, and it's like my favorite something. And then everyone guesses what your favorite thing is. And then whoever wins gets to go next. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, the scene went on too long. Second of all, finally it's Ashlyn's turn and she picks up her card and we can literally see what's written on
I
it.
was gonna say the same thing.
We can literally see what's written on it. And she says nothing.
The paper says something like favorite scientist, and then she confidently reads as if it says something different, favorite hobby that you rarely get to do.
And it's so long and the card is like an inch. It drove me banana pants. So weird.
And then it was also weird because she says fishing, which like it's not weird that a girl could say fishing. They act like it's kind of odd, but she's like, I was with my father. But the way they framed it, like it was also Noah's favorite thing, I was like, they are trying way too hard to make them compatible.
Right. Yes, because he's like, look, Noah's like looking at her, he's like, I think I can tell what you really like. And like all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna take a wild guess. It's the same as me. Fishing. And she's like, what? Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like, this is the worst. The worst. Still with zero chemistry. I was like, okay, they both like fishing. Great.
Well, more chemistry than her stepsister because he gets favorite song and the stepsister says, "Oh, Richard Marx, I'll be waiting here for you," or
Again,
something like
who
that.
wrote this?
And she's like giving him like a cocked, flirty eyebrow look, and he just says, "No, that's very specific though, and old."
That was funny. That was very funny. But I'm like, who wrote this dialogue?
It's so odd.
If I ask my kids right now who are like teenagers and very into music, hey, do you know who Richard Marx is? They'd be like, what?
I was going to
No.
look him up because I wasn't even sure that I knew who that was. I
Oh,
was like, did they make this person up?
no. Oh, God, now I feel old. I actually like that song. But I wouldn't say it was my favorite. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. No.
What era was he from? Like, what genre?
Oh, like just, like soft rock from the 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't listen to much of that kind of music growing up.
Soft rock, late 80s, like, oh, yeah.
My family was the kind of like anything with a beat is evil. So I would not have known.
Yeah.
I would not have known that kind of artist.
Now, they didn't call it this back then, but they call them mullets now. But back then it was just like fantastic hair. He had fantastic mullet-like hair. Yeah.
Okay.
Old Richard Marx. Yeah. I'm really dating myself now. But I mean, I was younger. I mean, I was born in the late 70s. It's not like I was like a teenager during the 80s, but that was, at that point, you listen to whatever your parents listened to or whatever the adults, because you didn't have, all the
Which
music
is why
in
I
the
grew up
world.
listening to bluegrass and classical music, because
You
that's
see
what
I'm
my
saying?
parents liked.
Exactly. So it was like that, what was on. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also do a cake tasting at the cake place, which is what Bruce calls it, and Ashlyn asks the bakery, like he'd forgotten what a bakery was.
It's
I was
so
like,
bad.
this is like, he's like, oh yes, that, and it's like he's acting like he's thankful that she's reminded him of this obscure term from a place in the past that he's forgotten, the
Yeah.
bakery.
And I'm going to be real truthful here. I pretty much zoned out for this entire scene because all I wrote was, I hate wedding planning movies. Where
that is
what
kind
they
of
do.
what this was, but it's so weird that they were doing all this planning when they're getting married this week.
Right. They're picking flowers, they're cake tasting, they're showing the venue, and I'm like, wouldn't this all be done for a destination wedding? And I just was like, it was at that point I realized this is a wedding planning movie and I hate those, and I don't need all these details. Ugh,
I
just
don't
get
think
through
I've
it.
ever seen a wedding planning movie, but I've heard Rachel talk about them. I don't think she likes this genre
No.
of rom-com either.
That was the one thing that we could always agree on whenever we talked Hallmark movies, is we both hated the wedding planning, like, or any party planning. Anything where, like, instead of actually going out together and learning about each other, they're thrown together with this constant pressure to put on an event. And that's where their quote unquote dates happen, is we got to meet with the caterer. We got to meet with the,
Yeah.
the musicians, whatever. We got to do all this. And that's how they're constantly thrown together. But really, you're just watching logistics. And it's like,
kind of, yeah.
they're not romantic. Like, what? Go out and be with each other. Like, go do something else. And eventually they get to that. They actually, Noah and Ashlyn actually do break off at some point later in the movie and have some more date-like type things where they would literally be able to get to know each other, where it would make sense that they would start to have feelings for each other. But at this point, all they've been doing is throwing together for wedding planning. Ugh, boring.
There was some odd things in this scene that kind of cracked me up. One thing that didn't crack me up was Fiona being creepy weird again. She's like,
yes,
talking about lemon cake. She's like, I love a lemon.
Weird.
And then the way Bruce pronounced pistachio. It's like, is this a regional pronunciation I'm not familiar with? Like the way people fight about the pronunciation of pecan, like
Yes.
pecan, like.
Yes.
But he says pistachio, and I'm like, what?
It was very off-putting. It was very off-putting.
And then the one thing that I did like about the scene was Noah telling Ashlyn that he likes a 1-to-1 ratio of cake to frosting, which she thinks is gross. And I was like, okay, finally, because up until that point, it was like, it was weird how similar they were trying to force them to
Yes.
be. I was like, okay, finally, they can have a disagreement. I like that.
Okay, although the moment he said it, I was like, jail, immediate jail. What do you mean a 1-to-1 ratio? I was aghast. I literally gasped like, and I'm so glad that Ashlyn was like, what? That's way too much frosting. And he's like, nuh-uh. And I'm like, oh.
And he's like stick thin.
Yes.
So,
I'm like,
he
no.
does not seem like the kind of person who would just eat spoonfuls of sugar.
I'm like, this is a serial killer, Ashlyn. Get away from him. No. And then, so they start talking about the cake, and Noah and her are kind of off to the side a little bit. Noah and Ashlyn are off to the side. And he's like, well, what would you like? And she starts telling him, and it's a cute scene. It really could be, until he's like, here, have a piece, with his giant fingers that you don't know where they've been or what he's been doing all day. And he goes to feed it to her. And I was so grateful that she was like, he's like, oh, sorry. And he gets a fork. And I'm like, there you go. Fine. It's still weird that you're feeding her, but at least it's not with your big sweaty fingers.
But I liked that she like still gave him a look like, what's going on here?
Yeah, like, why are we doing this? This is weird. So I did appreciate it. After all of this, I'll say all of this, I love Ashlyn. I really did like her character, and I really did like her whole storyline. I actually did like her, and she was funny. So I'll give her that. I'll give this movie that.
Yeah. For as much as I didn't like a few of the characters, mainly the Step family, Ashlyn, Noah, and Bruce were all fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But then after this, they go deep sea fishing, which was odd. It's like, this is such a random thing to throw in a movie like this. And I'm not sure, like, I'm pretty sure this was a set. I don't think they actually sent them out in a boat. And it cracked me up that you have a scene when Jerry catches a fish, but he's also seasick, so he can't reel it in, and Ashlyn has to do it for him. But it's like a giant CGI fish that's only shown down in the water, and no one interacts with it in any way.
I know. And this is the worst to me. The worst scene in the, like, for dialogue wise, because Ashlyn is over there fighting for her life to try and get this fish, right? And first of all, she's doing this with no gloves. And that fishing line alone on those deep sea fishing, yeah, she would lose a hand, but whatever. So she's reeling this in, and she's like, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna, lose it. And this man, Noah, really says to her, that's okay. There are plenty of fish in the sea. I almost lost it. I almost threw up in my mouth, and I was like, I can't finish this. It was the worst. It was the worst piece of dialogue. Oh, so cringy. I hated it. And just trying to be so like gentle and charming with it, like staring at her, saying that, and I was like,
yeah, they were trying way too hard to make them seem like a great couple.
I know, but the thing is they were actually cute together when they were just left alone and just had regular dialogue. I thought that they were actually really cute, but when they forced it like that, it was like, all I saw was no chemistry, no nothing. And if they would have just let them like be alone, like at the beginning when they very first met, he walks in and she's setting the table, and he's like, hey, do you need help? And they're just casually talking, and it was fine. I was like, oh, this is cute. Okay, it's gonna be okay. No, they just made it too corny in so many places. Yeah.
And then after they get back from fishing, they're like grilling up the fish, and Miriam sends Ashlyn away to run errands or something and pretends that she told them to go ahead without her. And then they leave a tray of food on her bed, which is buzzing with flies by the time she gets home. I was like, okay, first, how long was she gone?
Right.
And second, even if there was a couple of flies, there would not be like a swarm of flies over the food like it is rotten. Unless she was gone for a couple of days.
Right.
And she acts like acts like she's going to try to eat it anyways. And then she's like, oh, I can't. And it's like, the food would not be rotten if you were gone running errands for an hour or two.
But it's like, why not just, I get it's supposed to make it look like they're treating her so poorly that they leave her old food. She's Cinderella. Okay, fine. But it's like, just leave it in the fridge and put a note. There's a plate for you in the fridge.
Yeah.
Or just something. And she sits there like, and she's like, and the flies, I was like, did they know that? Because at the beginning of the scene, when I see the flies, I'm like, do they know that those are there? I was like, was this a mistake? Like an editing mistake? And then she sits down and she waves them. I'm like, oh, she sees them. So she's just going to like go and throw it. And then she sits down. I'm like, girl, are you about to eat that with those flies? I was very upset. I was like, what is happening? And then, of course, she can't. And I'm just like, what was the point of any of that whole scene?
To me, when I saw that, I didn't think that, did they see the flies? I was thinking, did they CGI a bunch of flies over this food?
It was so gross looking, too. Yeah. I just didn't like, the only thing I could think of it was just to prove how poorly they treat her. But at the beginning of the scene, I thought maybe Noah left her the food because he was constantly concerned about,
Yeah.
why isn't she here? Did she eat? Do all this? And he's very concerned about her. Like from the beginning, he obviously immediately starts to care about her. But it's like, I don't think Noah would do that, because why wouldn't he just keep the food fresh?
The note said that it was from Fiona. Like Fiona did it.
Okay, I missed the note then. I must have looked down. Like I think I was probably writing like, girl, don't eat that. It's got flies on it. Because I did write that on my notes. So maybe I'll probably miss that, because I'm like, well, so I guess, yeah, it's just to show how poorly they treat her. But
yeah,
we already know that.
But again, unless she was gone for like a day,
yeah,
like I would still have put it in the fridge. But like if it was just sitting there for half an hour, it would not have collected that many flies, and it would not have gone that gross.
No.
It was just a weird scene.
Yes, because she went into town literally to get medicine for Jerry, like anti-nausea medication, and then to pick up some shoes.
Yeah.
That's it.
She wouldn't have been gone long enough for this meal to
she came back
rot away.
Haggard too, like war-torn. Like she was like, what are you doing in town? Lord.
And then you have a scene the next day. She goes running and runs into Noah, and Fiona sees them from a distance. And like they've already been kind of cartoonish caricatures of people.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's like all of them get exponentially cartoonish. And she goes and deletes the paper that she's been writing for school so that she'll have to rewrite her entire essay or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then she can't go with them for whatever the next activity was. And she tells them that she has to stay back and rewrite the paper. And Fiona's just like grinning evilly while she's telling them this. And Miriam tells her it'll be all right while patting her elbow comfortingly. But she's like patting it from below. So she's like patting upward to add to the cartoonish awkwardness. It's like, funny. These aren't real people.
No. Yeah. I mean, it was clever in the terms of trying to get Ashlyn away from Noah, and it's obviously a supremely evil thing to do. But it was just like, do you know when this movie was made?
2 years ago.
Because
it's very recent.
Because it looked like, this is me getting super nerdy about it. I'm like, it looked like a MacBook with iCloud, which things are saved, and I'm like, why couldn't? Okay.
The window that popped up said it did not look like an actual pop-up window, that because I have one of those too. It was like shaped, and it had the same type of color scheme, but it said at the top like warning, delete forever or something like that. It was like somebody made a graphic to put on the screen. That's not how this works.
Because I'm like, girl, work in the cloud. Then you don't worry about. But what again, I'm reading too much into it, because I'm like, it's a plot device. I get it. Whatever. Move on, Lisa. I'm like, stop focusing on all this. Like, it's fine. And there's Noah being like, do you want some help? I can stay. I can keep you company. Like, whatever. And
when he said that, I was like, what help can you give? And then she comes back with like, you're just going to be watching me type. And I'm like, yeah. So what help could you have given?
Yeah. So I was like, at least they're acknowledging how ridiculous some of these statements are, because in other movies it have been like, oh my God, you're so sweet. Yeah, stay here.
Yeah,
And then they would do some sort of weird montage, studying montage. But no, they were like, no, go to dinner. Goodbye. And she just like takes off. And
I think that's what I don't want to say like saved the movie for me, but kind of saved it because for everything that started to annoy me, they saved it in some way
right.
by making it seem more realistic. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no saving the Step family; they're cartoons.
Right.
But for everything else, like something ridiculous would happen, but then you would have either a reveal or another line, and it'd be like, okay, that does make sense, even though it didn't at the beginning, and it seemed like it was a weird plot device, which it was. But the people who wrote this at least had enough knowledge to know that they were writing a weird plot device, and then would write a line that was like, okay, so they're acknowledging this.
Exactly. That's what I liked about it was they were acknowledging the goofiness and they weren't
Yes.
just glossing things over. So I did appreciate the fact that she was like, no, seriously, just go. I'm just gonna tie. And then of course we have like a little thing showing her working on the paper, but I was like, how long? Because of course then the whole thing made me very anxious because the last, nobody wants to lose a paper. And it just brought back so many memories of like computer crashes in
Mm,
college and like losing stuff. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, how long is this paper? Is it like 3 pages? Is it five? Is it 15? Is it a whole like thesis? Like, how much did we lose here? What are we talking about here? But of course, they just kind of like show her typing and she's like, it's actually better this time. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm very stressed about you not having this paper. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say how long it's supposed to be. If it was just a regular paper,
Yeah.
an afternoon is fine. Like,
Yeah.
I had plenty of times where I wrote things last minute and still got an A. I think I worked better with that kind of a pressure.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, because I was like, okay, that's fine. Because when I was, in college, which was admittedly several years ago, we had to print them and
Mm,
turn them in, and so it was like, oh, what is happening? Because I remember my second year in college when I went to register, they handed me a slip of paper on a it was dot matrix printed,
mm,
and it was like, here's your email address, and I was like, my what? It's like for what? Like it didn't. I mean, I knew what email was. I'm not that old, but I was just like, what would I do with this? Like, what is the purpose of this? And so now, of course, people just email their papers and like put them in drop boxes or upload them to places. But I was like,
hmm
it was very stressful to me that scene because was not my experience. And anytime I had a paper to write, I had to print it and turn it in like physically. And I'm like, how is all this going to work? But I get it. New technologies.
hmm Yeah, I didn't
Just
even think of that because my college was kind of both. Like
yeah.
some teachers would want you to hand in a paper, others would have you email it in or submit it to
Yeah.
the website. Some of my classes were entirely online, so it didn't seem that weird to me in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, they even say it. They're like, you haven't, it's due tomorrow. And
Hmm
obviously she's not there, so she has to email it. But I admit that scene stressed me out way more than it needed to because it was literally just a very, very minor plot device.
hmm
But I was very focused on it. So it all worked out. It was fine. In case anybody was nervous, it all works out. She turns in the paper.
Yes. I think somewhere around here is where you find out that Jerry has been blowing his mom's money, and then this is like the reveal that they're actually using this wedding to get Bruce's money so they can pay off Jerry's debts.
Yes.
And there's also a conversation somewhere in all of this blowing up where Ashlyn finds out she doesn't have a dress. And I think the assumption was that she was going to be a bridesmaid, but I don't know that they ever said that. But like everybody seems to assume that she's going to be a bridesmaid until Miriam says that she's going to be an usher instead.
An usher. I I don't think that was made very clear either, but I'd never thought that she was a bridesmaid.
I didn't either. But then everybody seems to think, like, because Ashlyn assumes that there's going to be a dress for her, so she didn't bring one. And then she's talking to Noah later, and he's asking why she doesn't have a dress. So it's like everybody is assuming that she's a bridesmaid. And I didn't remember them ever saying that she was going to be a bridesmaid. So I wasn't sure what was going on with that. And to me, like, not that I have to worry about a dress, but I would have asked what I needed to bring to wear to the wedding. Like, I wouldn't have assumed that I was going to be provided with clothing. I would have asked before I packed, like, what do I need to bring?
Yes.
And I would have assumed that she would have done the same.
Because traditionally, it's not just the wedding that you have to have a dress for. You also like if she's there as part of like family, there usually is some sort of rehearsal dinner like the night or two nights before where you need a
Mm,
dress. Like the fact that she didn't bring anything with her but shorts and some t-shirts. I again, it's also that way to get her to town and Noah goes with her so they can have their little moment. It's fine, but it just again, it was one more like it didn't really seem to service anything other than to highlight how they mistreat her. But I personally didn't think it was a mistreatment. I thought it was Ashley, you should have just asked or just brought a dress, a backup at least.
yeah. It was stuff like that that, like, for as good as of a character as she is for the most part, it just feels like they didn't think through the implications of her not bringing a dress. It
Right.
does make her seem a bit more dumb than you would want her to be.
Yes. That was when Noah's like, I'll go into town with you because I need to do something or pick up something. Oh, he needed something at the electronics store. That's what he
Oh
called
yeah,
it.
he needed AirPods for the ride home because
Yeah.
his died.
The electronics store, as he said. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote a note because I'm like, all right, I paused it to see how much time was left. And I'm like, there's 18 minutes left in this movie. And they're just now really, it's not a date, but it's the closest date like thing that they have them do. And I'm like, there's still a lot of ground to cover here. And we're down
Hmm.
to like the last 20 minutes.
The first half of the movie seemed to take forever to get anything really important happening, and then the second half
Yes.
was like speeding through things.
Yes. I totally agree. I was kind of concerned because I'm like, we still have to have the reveal, we have to have like the misunderstanding, like we have to have all of that, and then the resolution, and there's literally like 18 minutes left.
And there really wasn't a misunderstanding like I've seen in a lot of other
Yeah.
rom-coms. That they have this whole scene with them like dress shopping, and she's like lying to him about
Right.
why she needs to shop for a dress. And I'm like, why are you pretending that everything is fine? Because he thinks you're going to be a bridesmaid. Obviously, you're not. You're going to be an usher, and he's going to know that you lied when you are in the back seating people while his family is walking down the aisle.
I didn't even think of that. You're right. Like he would have been like, "Hey, wait a minute."
And at first I was like, is he an idiot? How could he be buying this? Thankfully, again, they saved it by having him obviously not buy this and going and telling Bruce that
Yeah.
something is wrong here. It was like, okay, so he's not as dumb as I was afraid they were making him.
Right. No, you're that's a good point because it never even dawned on me because first of all, what do you need an usher for like 50
50
people?
people. That's what I was thinking. It's
In
like,
a destination wedding, everyone knows who's there for what. Like, there's
yeah, it's not like everybody's flying into someplace in Ohio and they're just coming in for the day and maybe somebody's going to be late. It's like if they're going to a private island or wherever they are, nobody's going to be late. They're going to
right.
be there.
Yeah, they're going to be there ahead of time.
Yeah.
And the way they phrased it was like, well, for the latecomers, so that way you can tell them where to go. Where to go? It's one giant, like one big open church. Just they go sit down and they just, sorry, excuse me, I'm late. Sorry. Like, but it's fine. Whatever.
Again, I think
Again,
it comes back to the step family being cartoonishly evil. She was just
yes,
being a cartoon.
yes, you're right. I think too much of in these scenes. Like
Yes.
yeah,
And then this is where you have, well, first she goes back and talks to Fiona, and Fiona just randomly reveals that Miriam is marrying Bruce for his money. Then she goes and talks to Miriam, and they have this whole fight. And somewhere in here, like, she already has found out everything. She knows that there's this whole scheme to get Bruce's money, but then she goes, like, out on what is basically a date with Noah, like going ATVing and going and sitting
yes,
on a secluded beach and talking about life. And this is the point where I was like, why isn't she telling him anything? Because now it seems like she's just in it for the money, which it
right.
turns out she actually was. So it kind of saved this for me, but still, it made me like her slightly less that she would just go on this date and just not say anything about all of this stuff that's going on.
Yes, because at some point I thought she's gonna really start to care about not just Noah, but Bruce, because Bruce is such a nice man, like throughout the
Hmm.
movie, and that she's going to feel compelled to confess everything, and that's going to backfire on her. But the only thing that it made me think of was, okay, the reason she's not is, yes, obviously the money, but it was ordered to set up the like Uno reverse that Jerry does when they all get caught. And Jerry's like, actually, no, it's Ashlyn that, which I didn't see coming.
No, I didn't either.
And I actually kind of enjoyed. I was like, oh, dang. I was like, okay, that actually works because that
It
would make sense.
that could have, like, if this movie had been like a half hour longer, that could have been
Hmm.
a really devastating twist that changed the course of
Yes.
the entire movie. But they kind of brush it away really fast because
Yep.
they have the whole confrontation scene, which Bruce overhears and figures out what's going on himself.
Right.
There's nobody revealing the truth. He just overhears Miriam and Ashlyn talking, and Ashlyn's like planning on leaving now.
Right.
So then he just comes to the conclusion that this wedding is off by himself,
Right.
which works, but it's not as dramatic as you kind of would expect it to be.
Yes. I thought it was going to be, Ashlyn finally revealing everything and that the step family would turn on her and blame her, but it would be all this one big, massive, like group argument or something. And it's not what happens. You're right. It was almost too low key where it was like,
Hmm.
you know, Jerry does drop his little, he tries to blame it on Ashlyn. And I wasn't expecting it, like I said, and was shocking. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, twist, hello. But yeah, it was over in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. It felt like for a bunch of places in this movie, this felt like, and not that I'm an expert or anything, but this felt kind of like what a telenovela could be, except nobody went over the top in their reactions to things.
Yes. It would have
Like
been
like I
better
feel
with
like this
that.
could have been either a much longer movie or like a mini series where everybody is like super dramatic about all of this stuff. Because all of this stuff had potential to be really dramatic, but
Yeah.
everybody was just so low key. Like even all of the evil stuff that the step family were doing, it was just like I don't know, very low key
Yeah.
machinations. Like they were just kind of scheming and nothing ever really came of their scheme.
Right. Right. And I kind of was thinking at some point it would be revealed that all the money that the step family had was actually Ashlyn's.
I thought the same thing.
And then nothing ever came of it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, here we are. It just ended.
Yeah, well, the whole end was odd in a different way too, because after everything is over, like everybody knows everything, nothing is secret anymore. They're planning on staying there while the step family leaves, and they have Ashlyn stay with them so that she gets something out of this trip. And then Noah is like confessing that he's in love with her, and they kiss and everything. That was where they revealed that because she apologizes for not telling him because she had money on the line. I was
Right.
like, okay, so that was intentional then.
Mm-hmm.
I Even though it does make me kind of like her a little bit less, as a story, I like this so much more.
Right.
It makes so much more sense that she was doing this on purpose rather than it be a plot hole.
Yeah, it was made her more authentic to me. And I'm
Yes,
like, because people make bad choices
yes,
under stress.
exactly.
And she did. And it wasn't a great choice, but she did it. And it was acknowledged because in a lot of these movies, the main character does make a bad choice because they're trying to fulfill something, external. And
Hmm.
they're like, yes, this is the only way I can get it. And then when the reveal comes and all of it comes out, it's kind of like glossed over because it was in the pursuit of love or it was in the pursuit of this. But no, she's like, no, I needed the money. And
Yeah.
I actually really like that. But I did not like, okay, let me back up. I did think that their big conversation about their feelings, I liked it. Overall, I liked it.
Hmm.
However, I'm like, we don't even know where everyone lives. We don't even know like beyond this little vacation. Where does Bruce and Noah live? Like I know it's just supposed to be happy for now, happily ever after, but I'm like, logistically, how is this going to work once y'all leave the Caribbean? Like how does no discussion whatsoever about how to make all that work. The only
Yeah.
thing they said was Bruce is like, I went from a groom to a third wheel, which I thought was actually pretty funny.
His whole reaction to that, it struck me as simultaneously kind of nice and charming, but also slightly unbelievable because he like it's like he forgives the step family
Yeah.
immediately, which again I come back to, okay, is this a church movie? Is
Right?
this the moral of the movie?
Yes.
Forgive them. They don't make a big deal out of it. It's just something that happens. He acts like he's forgiving them. He doesn't forgive them to the point where we're going to make up and it's going to be okay. It's like an actions have consequences type moral. Like she still has to leave. They're not together anymore, which is
Right.
good. It was kind of odd that they went in that direction. I don't dislike it, but it just seemed odd compared to a lot of other movies of this type where there's a huge blow up and then the evil family gets their just desserts and now they
Right.
are sent slinking away in shame.
Yes. And we get that feeling of like victory, like we won because this whole time, like we've hated them. But
Yes.
Ashlyn has a moment with Bruce where she's like, I just want you to know that I really do think Miriam loves you. Like, I really do think that that was real. And it was very nice and it was very sweet. But I'm like, in service to what? Because it's not like he goes back to her.
Yeah.
It's,
No.
it's not like they make any plans like, well, we'll see how it works out once we get back. It's just like, well, that's over. All right, let's go be on the beach together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I do like the idea of the step family being forgiven, even though nothing is made nice for them. Like they don't get what they wanted; they're just forgiven. I do kind of like that idea, but at the same time, they were literally scheming to take all his money to pay off somebody's gambling debts. I was
Exactly.
like, this. Even if these are extremely forgiving people, it needs to take more than a day to just decide to forgive them.
Exactly, because it would be one thing if it was just they left out old food for her or they didn't buy her a dress and it was all just kind of, kind of bullying, but
Yeah,
like they're deleting term papers and like stealing money or like plotting to steal money and like doing pretty nefarious things and it's like, yeah, no, he's better off without her. Although I did appreciate Ashlyn showing how nice she is by being like, listen, for what it's worth, I do think she loved you, which I thought was nice, just unnecessary.
yeah, it was nice, just
Yeah,
odd in context of everything else.
right. Because I'm like, well, the movie's over. What now? What's gonna happen? Like, uh, it was fine. Again, the whole thing was fine. The movie itself was fine. So if anybody asks me, do you have any Cinderella movies set in the Caribbean? I'll be like, I don't know, because I won't remember it. Because
That's a very specific question that
yeah,
some hypothetical person might ask you.
exactly. Just like in this movie.
Yeah,
So I'm just keeping with the theme here. I'll be like, I don't know.
yeah. On the whole, I didn't hate this movie.
No.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I don't know if that's better or worse. Like
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Like it was entertaining for what it was. I can't say I'm dying to see it again. I would definitely choose to watch it over Cinderella, but even though it is technically a better movie than A Snow White Christmas, I would probably still choose to watch A Snow White Christmas because it was so dumb that it somehow swung back around to being entertaining. Whereas
Yes.
this was just a little bit dumb, a little bit competent to the point where it's fine.
Yes.
Which I don't know. That's I guess again in some ways better, in some ways worse.
Yes. Because for me, when it comes to bad, Cinderella, not Cinderella, Snow White was bad, but entertaining.
Yes.
And I will take that any day over bad and boring. Like not
Or
even,
even
it
just
wasn't
fine
even,
and boring because I think
yeah,
this
that's what
was
it was. It
fine.
was
This
fine and boring.
the only thing that I could say is bad about this is the step family felt like cartoons. Like they didn't read as believable people for the most part.
The only thing bad about this movie was the dialogue, like the
Oh,
plenty of fish in the sea.
yeah, there was a few choice lines where it was like, okay, who wrote this?
For reals.
I will say though, I did look up who made them, who made the movie, and the director was Brian Brough, Brough, and he has a very long list of movies that it looks like it's all rom-com type Hallmark-ish movies, like A Crafty Christmas Romance, Lights, Camera,
Ooh.
Romance, Retreat to Paradise, Matchmaker Christmas. He also has one called Not Cinderella's Type, which I'm like, okay, so this is his second Cinderella movie. Do we need to add another one?
Yes.
But then I also looked up the writer, and it was Brittany Wiscombe, and I was like, this looks like almost an identical list. And I scrolled down to personal details, and it says alternative name Brittany Brow. So I'm like, okay,
Oh,
so this is a husband and wife team.
yes. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was like a whole group of friends and when we watch the other Cinderella movie, it's all the same people, all the same cast, just slightly in different roles? Oh,
Now I'm
that would,
kind of interested.
yeah, that would be a dream come true. I'd be like, Jonathan, oh my gosh, what have we stumbled upon?
There's also one called Sense and Sensibility, but Sense is Scents.
Are you kidding me? I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up.
I have a feeling that I'm probably going to come back to this husband and wife team a few times, which you and I could probably do these because there's several in here that I'm looking at the titles and it's like, okay, this is a play on some story like Beauty and the Billionaire. This has got to be Beauty and the Beast.
Yes. Okay. I am in on any of them, honestly. Okay, so I just looked on some of his older films here, like on IMDb, and I'm seeing one review that says that yes, it's labeled as Christian romance or LDS, depending on the publication. I'm like, again, we caught this.
Without even knowing, we just
Yes,
assumed.
yes, we sussed it out.
There was just something about the dialogue that just like and like I said, I didn't grow up Mormon, so it wasn't like I was seeing Mormon. I was just there was something about the dialogue that was like this feels like a Christian movie.
Right, because I watched the I forget what it's called. It's the Mormon production of Pride and Prejudice, and that has a very distinct flavor to it that is very reminiscent in this movie. So that's why I was agreeing. I was like, yes, it's there, but
I
it's not
wonder what it
overt.
is. Like what is it that we're sensing because it was not obvious. It was just something that we just picked up on. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what it was.
Well, for me, it was I mean, I kind of was like you, like at the beginning, like, is this not? But the moment we saw the church, I was like, this is a church movie.
Yeah. Even though there was nothing explicit in the dialogue that was like trying to preach a message, because that's the kind of Christian movie that I was familiar with.
Right.
Like they are trying to give you a message and they're going to make sure you know that message. But that wasn't this. It just had the
No.
same feel.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that anything that you do by this guy as it relates to your series, I'm in. You just let me know.
Okay.
I'm in. Yeah.
Oh my word. I just
Uh-oh.
read the the description of Not Cinderella's Type. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
It says a kind-hearted orphan lives with her emotionally abusive relatives until a popular boy takes an interest after accidentally killing her cat.
Are you kidding me?
What is this movie? That is not what I thought it was going to be. Okay, we need to do this.
Am in.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
That is not at all what I was expecting to read when I clicked on this.
I am looking at it right now. Oh my goodness.
So I don't think this is going to be related to the one we just watched. Unless you got over that.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'm reading the extended one, and it says Indy lives with her aunt and uncle and believes her life is fine until an accident brings a new guy in the picture, which I can only assume now is the killing of her cat. Bryant Bailey is not Indy's type. She's never been into guys like him. A cat killer? Sure. But then again, she's never really known anyone so stubborn and caring. What? So stubborn and caring. Okay. That can also help her discover who she is and what she's worth. This unique film captures the beauty of awkward teen love as well as poignant realities of emotional abuse. What is happening?
We'll see.
Oh my goodness. I'm in. You just let me know.
Yeah, that definitely needs to be a future episode.
Okay. Okay. We'll find out where it plays and I'll make it happen.
Well, until we get to the next episode, do you want to let people know where they can find you online?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at My Bookish Agenda.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next time for
All right.
another weird princess movie.
Yes. Thank you for having me. As always, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My Linktree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.